But before we get to that, I want to go to Paige Hannah's video. She posted her video yesterday on Sunday. Yesterday was Sunday. I think in her second video, I think she mentioned that she was going to do just like the last video, third video. I don't know if there's going to be more videos afterwards. But if I remember correctly, I think she was planning to do just like a last third video. And this video is where she talks about Jodi Hildebrandt staying at her house for 6 weeks and what transpired. Because in Kevin Frankie's interview, the one that we didn't get to see a video interview of, they only did a recording, which at least they did something, you know, unlike some of the law enforcement in Massachusetts. At least we have an audio recording of this. And Kevin Frankie did talk about how Jodi Hildebrandt said that she was kidnapped by the Hannahs, and I guess she escaped them and then maybe cut ties with them, right? But the other perspective that Kevin Frankie brought up, and I don't know if he heard that from the Hannahs directly or from other people, was that, you know, Jodi was trying to self-harm herself and maybe she was trying to seduce the husband. Which to me, I'm like, the husband? If it was like Jodi trying to seduce the wife, that might be more in line of what we think Jodi might, you know, like what her romantic interests might be. I've been waiting since I saw her post for you to cover it. Yeah, I was a little bit busy yesterday. I don't know how I missed it though, because I have my YouTube notifications on now, and I might have scrolled through my notifications yesterday, and then the YouTube stuff kind of just all blended together. But it's okay. We're here now. So we're going to cover the Paige Hanna video, and then afterwards we'll go to the Karen Reed trial. And like I said, Mr. Proctor, he testified on the stand right now. I have a live feed of him right here because I just want to see how quickly or how slow Lolly's going to do his direct examination of Proctor. But I hope you guys had a good weekend. We'll switch on over here right now. Oh, wait, no. This one. Okay. All right. So I haven't seen it yet. I was trying to get a thumbnail, but we haven't seen it yet. And I think for this one, well, it depends on what she's talking about. I'll either speed it up, slow it down. But I think we'll start off with like 1 time speed, and then maybe we'll speed it to like 1.25 or something like that. But yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. And hello. I'm just going to get started right into it because we have a lot of stuff to cover today.
Hello, I'm here recording.
Oh, okay. I need to boost audio properly. Volume booster. Hold on a second. I haven't boosted on my end. Yeah, I'm going to boost her up a little bit. Make it nice and loud. See, what I love about the long crime coverage of the Karen Reed trial, I'm pretty sure they boosted the audio on their end.
Recording the third video where I talk about...
Ooh, okay, that was a little too loud. Turn it back down.
my experiences with Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie. This video is going to be a little bit different. It's taken me a long time to even work up the desire to record another video. I don't want to do this.
Hi,
Let me just lay
Chantal.
that out. It is hard to think back on my experience with Jodi. It is hard to reflect on my relationship and friendship with Ruby. It ended really abruptly.
I mean, I think she could have just stayed silent and not say anything, but because so many people listened to the Kevin Frankie's interview and it's already been put out there, they're like, oh, you know, Jodi may have said that these people will try to kidnap her. So, I mean, I don't think it's out of the ordinary for her to come out and want to kind of clear her name, her and her husband's name, and then talk about her experiences with, you know, Jodi and Ruby and share with other people out there on the internet.
Please.
Hey, Fire.
Oh. And so I have wanted to just set this aside. Many of you have emailed saying, you don't have to do this. I can see your pain. You don't have to feel obligated. And I don't feel an obligation or a duty. When I sit back and I think about what I've been through and everything I've learned, all I have is a desire to use all of the painful lessons I learned.
And I think it's a good way for, I don't know, to get closure as well. Some people might get closure from maybe talking it out with like maybe their family, their friends, their therapist or something like that. But I mean, like a lot of this is like kind of like public. It's in the public arena. So I can see why she would want to get closure in the public area. Hey, what's up?
I'm doing good. So that maybe you won't repeat them. And my experience is really unique in that Jodi had taught me some amazing, I don't like the word principles. So they were just good teachings. There were things that were sound and were good. And had I not learned them, I wouldn't have been able to see her clearly. And so it's a really interesting situation because she came into my home a very, very broken person. And had I not spent so many years trying to understand my own brokenness and really try to uproot my pain and heal it, I wouldn't have been able to see hers so clearly. And it's such a big part. So I have sought a lot of counsel in the things that I share. In the first video, I explained my involvement in connections and relationship with Ruby. I also explained one of the things I learned most was that if you put anything above God, it has become your new God and you are at risk of being.
And I have my own thoughts about Jodi. I don't know, from what I've heard, it seems like Jodi might have been a pathological liar, someone who was, had very attention-seeking behavior. And Ruby Frankie, on the other hand, I think she just wanted acceptance. She wanted validation. She wanted to be a people person. She wanted to be everyone's best friend, Like, I feel like she just wanted to please others around her. But when it came to her kids, I don't know if she really cared about pleasing them. It was mostly just her having this crazy, like, OCD control. I don't know. I think she had a major control issue.
Deceived. In my second video, I talked about introducing Ruby to connections and our friendship and
wait, sorry, am I tripping? Is this a new YouTube thing? The video's like the edges are curved. Was it always like this? Or am I just noticing this now?
I view generational healing as something really important. That's the avenue I took, connections. And I explained how a lot of these teachings were weaponized. In this video, I will explain how she came into my home and some of the tools that I had received that helped me see the level of her illness. This last month, as I've been struggling and as I've been contemplating, do I want to do this? Why would I keep talking about it? I've asked myself, what is my purpose? Why put myself through this discomfort? Why try to dredge up these experiences that were hell 3 years ago? And it's to answer the question, how could this happen? And that's it. How could this happen? And I think I have an understanding of how. So bear with me. I talk slow.
It's okay. You can talk as slow as you want. We got the settings here.
It's very important to me that these are not scripted, that I allow the thoughts to flow, the words to flow the way they should. And if I'm headed down a path, a train of thought that I feel is not where I should be going, then I'm going to stop.
And it definitely feels more authentic, in my opinion.
Because I want to be real, and I want to, I just want to be genuine in my experience, genuine in my desires, and that is to share my shortcomings and faults in hopes that you might learn from them. 2021. We had just finished a coaches retreat when we were getting ready to put all of these coaches out into their own field where they would take on their own clients and they would begin teaching the way they felt was best.
Hi, Barry.
The same principles, the same things that we had learned, but like I said, I really gravitated towards the generational healing. Other women gravitated towards the different things that really were receptive, what they were receptive to, that they helped them heal. It was that weekend that everybody was in my home, all these coaches, we had gone through a training. We were basically graduating.
I wonder is the connections Instagram is probably still up, right? And the Facebook page. Hey, Thomas, how are you doing today?
I laugh because there was just a lot of evidences of Jodi's lack of...
What if Pam Botchner is still running connections in the background and they're still doing their like weekly seminars,
Business skills in that. And I think if any of you coaches are watching, former coaches, you will laugh in remembering some of those things. And yeah, we were getting ready to graduate, to move on. That same weekend, Jodi had confided in me those dreams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all these women that go to Jodi are looking for answers. They're all vulnerable. They're looking to have someone that they can trust. Someone that they can listen to. Someone that's like, oh, she has like this background. Okay, like we can trust her. These are her credentials. She was working with the church at some point. They recommended her at some point, not anymore. And they truly believed that she was like an authority figure that they can believe in. She took advantage of that.
Dreams that she'd been having, we talked some more about them, and the severity and her distress with them. She went home. Everybody went home. She went home, and in the next few days, Johnny and I, my husband, received a phone call that Jodi needed help. And this phone call came from a person that I had never met before. I don't believe I'd ever even spoken to her on the phone. And
I wonder if this person was someone that was helping Jodi and was looking to pawn Jodi off onto someone else. Because when we heard from Kevin Frankie, there was a pastor, I think. So after the whole thing happened with Frankie and Johnny, Hannah, I think Jodi leaned on a pastor to help her. And Kevin Frankie would talk about how this pastor would drive all the way down to come see Jodi, talk to her for hours and hours and hours. And it was at that point where Ruby was like, hey, maybe we should take care of Jodi. Maybe we should take Jodi and bring her in and live in our house, and we'll take care of her. And Kevin's a little bit hesitant at first, but then later on agreed to what his wife wanted. Fascinating. People are looking to lead. Everyone's looking for a leader. Yeah, especially if you feel like you're lost. You know what you're doing. You just want guidance, and you kind of want like a solid foundation to lean on. So, I mean, I get why people tend to look for leaders and someone to help them out and stuff like that, but you also got to be really fucking careful and really fucking skeptical sometimes, you know?
She was a dear friend of Jodi's, living in a different country, thousands of miles away, who had known her for, 20 or 30 years.
Who is this person?
This friend had Jodi on the line also and expressed how concerned she was that Jodi was not doing well. And my husband and I didn't understand what does that mean, not doing well. And she said, she's suicidal. Now, Johnny and I had some experience previously with a very close relation who had been suicidal. So immediately this tugged on our heart. And because of the goodness of our hearts, we were in the state of, what can we do? How can we help? Mm-hmm. This friend said she's really worried because Jodi lives alone and doesn't have a lot of close relations down where she lived. And the majority of the help she could seek and friends were up near where I lived. So my husband and I offered to go, we offered for her to come and stay with us. And she said no. Jodi said no. No, I can't put you out. No. I can't remember if in the last video I had said that she makes something your idea. If I didn't say it, I thought it, but that's because that's how she functioned. And so she said, no, I couldn't do that to you. And because of what we thought was the severity of the problem, we offered to meet her halfway. We said, okay, that's fine. We're just going to drive halfway. And if you're there, great. If you're not there, then you'll have made us drive all the way for nothing, and we won't be able to help you. So we drove halfway, met up with her, and ended up driving back to our home where...
I actually don't remember where they lived. Do they also live near where the Frankies are? Like in Springville, I think? I actually don't remember.
Where she would stay.
Sounds like a long drive.
First of all, I was apprehensive. Jodi's a hard person to be around. I don't know if you've gathered that by now, but she is a lot to handle, and I already knew that. I'm friends with her. I love her for her...
Wait, why is it Karen retrial on another break? What's going on here? Oh, boy.
Loved her for her great qualities, and was grateful for the small doses. So there was a lot of apprehension in the thought of her coming. I set that aside, thinking that this was a very loving, compassionate thing to do. Compassionate, loving way to help. If you had said, go get this woman, she's going to be living with you for 6 weeks, I wouldn't have. That just wasn't even in my mindset. Also, the nature of my home allows for a lot of space between people. So I also at the time had a nanny helping many hours throughout the day. So I thought that there could be a lot of separation between helping Jodi and...
Hannah lives in Mapleton, which is close to Springfield, both hours from Jodi's prison home. Yeah, because Jodi's all the way in Ivins. And I think from the Frankie's home to Jodi's house was like 3 hours or something, 3.5 hours. It was pretty far. I think Jodi's house is like 2 hours away from Vegas or something.
My kids being protected and helped. So it was late at night. We brought her to our home. And the next day, this friend from out of country said that she would be coming also. She would be flying in to help her dear friend Jodi. There were also other friends of Jodi's aware of this situation, and friends of my own aware of this situation. So I felt like I had a lot of support around me, and she was not able to alienate me and my husband the way she was with the Frankies, which how could this happen? If I'm answering that question, that's one of the key things. We had a support system around us that was very dear to us, and maybe over time, maybe over months, she would have been able to weave her way and break those relationships, but she wasn't.
And I think like the Frankie family, like the siblings, I think like maybe the parents, I think they tried saying like, oh, you know, like this Jodi person is kind of weird. I don't know about this Ruby. I don't know about this. But Ruby did such a good job at pushing all those thoughts out. Like she didn't care about what any of her family thought. She was worshiping Jodi. Okay. Anyone that said anything bad about Jodi, she probably looked at them and was like, okay, well, I'm going to cut you out of my life then, because Jodi's the person that I love. Jodi's the person that I worship. Jodi's the person that I trust, right? Even to the point where she was able to, you know, push out Kevin, her husband, of how many years out of her life? Well, I think they were married for like 20 years or something like that. And just totally devote her time to Jodi.
She was here. I didn't think that I could actually help her. It's not like we brought her here because I thought that my husband and I were capable of taking on somebody suicidal and solving their problems for them. I thought we were a step in a much bigger process. I learned very quickly that she was unwilling to seek professional help. Her reasons for not seeking professional help were,
she didn't trust them?
That they're just in distortion, that they don't understand, that they'll just medicate her and then she'll be a zombie and that'll take away her agency. So you can see how she already had her own like honest, responsible, humble narrative that she had to cling to, and that we understood. So when she said they won't allow me to live honestly because I'll be drugged, or they're not honest, or I mean she convoluted all of it to where I was like, then what do we do? Then how do we help? I had sought help.
I don't know. I feel like anyone or any entity that Jodi couldn't control or have like influence or power over, she didn't trust. If you were one of her minions, on the other hand, okay, she'll trust you. Because it's possible that she may be able to convince you to do what she wants you to do.
In an unconventional way, from somebody who does, I don't know, I'd say energy work, but it's a mix of so many different modes of healing. And it had been very beneficial to me. Yes, I'll explain my muffin later. This woman had helped me understand that a lot of the answers to my problems I can find through my subconscious. And if I am asking my higher power for assistance, my subconscious can provide the means to heal to the answers. So we decided to go down that route. That's the one Jodi was open with. I recognize now she was open because she thought it was a system she could manipulate. At the time, I had full hope that she would be able to understand what she was going through and why. This is where some of her teachings came into play for me. One of the ones that she had explained most,
use her teachings against her.
She didn't explain most. Truth and distortion is what she hit on most. One of the things that she taught briefly that I really clung to was the concept of denial. And I'm going to reiterate a little bit of what I explained in the first video. You're in a state of peace or you're in a state of pain. And that, in order to understand where that shift was, that you went from peace to pain, you have to look at your thoughts and you have to look at your actions, your behaviors. And then you might be able to see where...
Hi, Sarah. How are you doing today? I mean, you're not too far behind. We just started not too long ago, so you'll catch up in no time. But I hope you're doing well, Sarah. I hope you had a good weekend.
Where the shift was, and then get yourself back into peace. If you were unwilling to look at your pain, then you would utilize denial. And there's all these tactics of denial. There's all these tactics of avoidance to look at your pain. And when I understood those, and I saw this long list of avoidance tactics, I could see myself using so many of them. I actually have a list, and I'm going to pull it up because this is key to understanding how I saw Jodi clearly. Avoiding in itself is a tactic to not look at your pain. Blaming somebody else, compartmentalizing, comparing, creating distractions, entitlement, exaggeration, either or thinking, which is black and white thinking, which many people within connections were very good at black and white thinking.
Hey, CMB.
Feeling helpless or hopeless, intellectualizing, justifying your behavior, minimizing your behavior, storytelling, manipulating, omitting information, rationalizing, thinking you're unique or different, and thinking you're a victim. So at first, it's really easy to think of all these forms of denial and to think
I kind of want to write these down for later on.
other people are utilizing them. And so I was guilty of that. I thought like, oh, I can tell when my husband's in pain because he's rationalizing or he's intellectualizing, or I can tell if my kids are in pain because they're trying to manipulate or they're omitting information. And so while it could have been a weapon, I just saw it as information. Oh, I can understand people better if I know these things. And then it evolved into I can understand myself once I recognize I minimize my emotions regularly. I over-intellectualize. I justify things. I feel entitled. So I started reflecting on my own behavior. And as I did that, I ultimately saw that I was in a great amount of pain, suppressed pain. And so then I started asking myself, what am I not looking at? Why do I have limited memories from certain years of my life? Why is this resonating so deeply with me, this concept of denial, being in denial? So I spent a lot of time studying it. And so much to where in the past, I would have had that entire list memorized. And throughout the day, I would have been able to watch myself move in and out of those different places of denial. That training was so integral to my experience with Jodi and her decline mentally. So she was here because she was suicidal.
I wonder, I know that when the women were arrested, Jodi and Ruby, they were separated and then they were put in like, I don't know, people were trying to speculate where they were being held at. I think at some point there was an update saying they were put in medical hold. I wonder if any of the women ever had like a psychological evaluation, or did it not just get there yet because the trial didn't really, progress anywhere. It was just kind of like, okay, they have a plea deal. But I do wonder if they ever had a psychological evaluation after they were held. Hi, Wayne.
So I thought.
Who is this lady? This is Paige Hanna. So we've covered 2 of her other videos. She was part of the Connections group with Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie. Her and her husband, they're kind of up there in Connections for a bit. And then they had a falling out with Jodi Hildebrandt, and she's here to tell us, what kind of happened during that time. But we have about another 10 minutes left, so I'm wondering maybe there will be a 4th video.
And because that's what I thought I can help her. And I can help her through introducing her to this healer who can help her look at what's really going on behind.
Oh, I forgot. Kevin Frankie also said that Jodi claimed that her and her husband tried to introduce her into another cult. I think that's the part we're going to get to right now. Okay, because she tried to introduce Jodi to a healer, and then maybe Jodi's like, oh my God, this is like a cult. This is a cult. There's no way. I know what a cult is. There's no way I'm going to pull myself into another cult.
These sleepless nights, these dreams. And as we worked, and I say we because I was a part of some of those sessions at her request, Jodi's request, I started...
Also, I'm looking at the Karen retrial right now. Why are they still on break? What's going on?
Seeing the amount of pain that Jodi had been bearing. She had already confided certain things in me. And so when she was discussing with this healer, I could hear she was omitting information. I could hear that she was telling a story one way when I recall it happening a different way.
Manipulation, lies.
So I could see she was manipulating the situation.
Being selective. No, they had their lunch break. They came back in session, and then I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I don't know. I have my eye up on the live trial on the right side. No, we have not got to Proctor yet. I wanted to cover Paige Hanna first, and then we'll go over to the Karen retrial. We're going to cover the part where Yannetti and the judge had some, a little bit of a feisty back and forth ish, kind of. Was it really a back and forth, though? Maybe like a quick little back and forth. And then I want to cover a little bit more Buchanan's testimony, but just a tiny little portion where they talked about the surveillance and they have it shown on the camera. And then, we'll get to Proctor. We'll get to Proctor.
If you were a suicidal person seeking counsel from Jodi, I could only imagine that she would tell you, like the counsel she would give you in different ways. And this was back then. And I could hear that she was not living what it was she would tell others to do. So she was the exception to the rules.
And that was mentioned before. I think Jodi, did she say the same thing for Ruby too? She said that Jodi would teach people, all these things, and then her herself wouldn't follow any of it. And I think when she talked about Ruby, she talked about how, Ruby, she would take Jodi's teachings and just not even do it correctly.
Exception to her teaching. When somebody
It was almost as if Ruby would weaponize what she learned from Jodi against other people.
is living as the exception to the world, the exception to how things are taught and done, or the exception to, let me put this into words.
Which is what I don't like, by the way. Sometimes when people, they discover new teachings, new ways to, look at their lives, examine themselves, instead of like using it to just help themselves and maybe like recognize certain patterns or whatever, they use it to start to kind of like diagnose other people around them. And because you think that you know more than other people, and you think that like, oh, okay, I know of X, Y, and Z teachings. Okay, like I'm like special here. And it kind of gives them like a sense of an authority figure, or I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, I guess like a sense of authority that you're better than other people, you know more than other people, and that, I don't know. I feel like that's what happened with Ruby. I feel like she got these teachings. I mean, from Horrible Woman, but she got these teachings from Ruby, or from Jodi, and she used it to weaponize against other people instead of just using it to help herself. Well, I guess it makes sense because her mentor was Jodi. Jodi probably did the same fucking thing. But I don't know. This goes for like anything that like sometimes people, other things that people learn, right? It's like, oh, like, I learned about this new diet. And if you don't know about this new diet, then you must be stupid, I don't know. It's just like, I get it sometimes with like with people when they like find out these like new learnings and stuff like that. They think they're better than other people. They think they're in the know and that they're special. It's like a small group of people who only know about this thing. And then you use it to like judge people. I don't know. I never like that. Yeah, the sense of superiority thing. Yeah. It's always come off as like, ugh, to me. Like, ugh. Like, you know what? Just focus on yourself. Just worry about yourself. Don't worry about other people.
When somebody lives as the exception to their own teachings, or to the laws of the land, or to the laws of God, it's the evidence of the highest amount of pain. When I witnessed her doing that, I started understanding the depths of what pain she must have come through.
I'm like super thirsty
It was
today.
an assumption of what she had come through. I need to rephrase that. It's what I was hearing her experiences had been. So many of those dreams were not dreams. So many of the emotions were real. And as I sat in some of those sessions, I was awoken to what real pain and suffering is, that I had actually been in very much a bubble to in my life. And because of this pain that I was beginning to understand, I felt immense compassion and an even stronger desire to help. But help how? Because we witnessed self-harm, self-mutilation, starving, binging. It was made known to me that previously in Jodi's life, she had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, or what's the term? I know there's another one, dissociative identity disorder. And was something that she thought she had managed, and yet it all opened up and resulted in that those suicidal thoughts and behaviors. So while she was here, and as I was understanding some of the things that she had been through, that she had tried so hard to suppress, my world shattered because of the bubble that I had been living in. I had already started recognizing that the teachings that I was getting through connections were a Band-Aid. That a lot of therapy is a Band-Aid. But unless you can go in and really understand how you've come to be the person you are, how you've come to the understandings and the views of the world that you have, then you truly can't find healing. And so I watched very closely Jodi and her behaviors and her tics and her denial. And felt completely helpless.
So I wonder, did she kick Jodi out of the house, or did Jodi get the fuck out of there?
There was a great support system here. She had very close friends who were with her and were understanding these same things. Who knew of her past, who knew and had done a good job of hiding, allowing her to live in this state of denial. And I had approached Jodi and said, you need a support system. We need to tell others about this. And there were some couples that were very close to us that I said, we need to call them and we need to explain to them what's happening. And every time I had suggested a greater intervention of telling more people, I was met with, no, because then the voices in my head will get worse, and then I will this, which would end in suicide. She had even asked when she came into my home if I would take her car keys, because if she had access to them, then in the middle of the night she would drive away and cause an accident on the highway. I see how, because of me following and believing those things, she could then go
turn it around and say, they wouldn't let me leave. I was kidnapped.
To the Frankies after me and say she was kidnapped. I told you she would tell 90% truth with a 10% lie. She would say something to the effect of, she took my car keys. She wouldn't let me go anywhere.
But she wouldn't say that, like, oh, but I told her to.
She would lock the doors. And all of that is true. But I did it because she told me to. And she told me if I didn't, she would kill herself. So much manipulation. Okay. I think I need to leave it here because I'm upset. It's really hard to go back, like I said, and visit that 6 weeks.
I wonder if her kids remember any of this. Because I think at this point she already had maybe 6, 7, 8 kids, maybe. And to have this crazy woman in your house, like, I'd be like, no. I have kids who live here. You're gonna. Someone else is gonna have to take you in.
The first week, I was very much sucked in to this idea.
But of course, like, she doesn't have the information that we have now, right? During that time, this was someone that she looked up to. This was someone who was like, she worked with, her mentor, blah, blah, blah. She wanted to help out. She wanted to do something kind, nice. But like, I'd be like, nope.
Her suffering was something that I could aid in mending. The second week, when she had started going into actual memories. And when I learned the suffering that exists, the real suffering that exists in the world. The third week I was exhausted and started recognizing more severe behavior. And that's only halfway through. So I'm going to leave it here. And I hope what I said made sense. Because remember, I'm answering the question, how could this happen?
Hey, Rain.
And it's not just how could this happen to the Frankie children, but how could Jodi get to this place? So, okay. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, it's basically how could someone get sucked into Jodi's bullshit? Because when we hear about this initially, when the news first broke out about the children, and then this therapist who split up the husband, the wife, and then the kids didn't want to be, part of mom's life anymore, like the older kids. It's kind of like, oh, how the fuck did this happen? So I mean, I'm glad that she's talking about it. It definitely is kind of insightful, I guess, because we have had other Jodi Hildebrandt victims talk about Jodi as well, and a lot of the stuff they talk about, it seems to really align with each other. We've had the niece, Jessie Hildebrandt. We had Adam Paul Steed. I know there are other victims that talked about Jodi Hildebrandt on the Mormon podcast. I haven't listened to those. but I know there's some other people. But I wouldn't be surprised if more couples came out and was like, hey, you know, we went to Jodi Hildebrandt for therapy. We went to her because we wanted help in our relationship. We wanted help with raising our kids. And, you know, at some point she started crossing some lines. You know, she started doing some really weird things and we just weren't sure what was going on, but we trusted her so much that we kind of went along with it. I don't know. I feel like there could be more people who talk about Jodi in the future, or maybe not. You know, maybe they don't want to say anything. Maybe they want to keep it quiet, but I think didn't we hear from, oh no, I think that was Jodi Hildebrandt's coworker. Oh God, what am I thinking? Oh yes, I think that was in the doc. Yeah, there was remember the doc they did on Ruby Franke? I did a video covering it. It was the 2021, it was like mom influencers to felon or something like that. I think they had some people that talked on there that worked with Jodi Hildebrandt, and there was a coworker of Jodi Hildebrandt that talked about her as well. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if more people come out of the woodworks and they like, hey, like Jodi Hildebrandt did the same thing to me, because it seems like she's been doing this for over maybe 20, 30 years. It'd be kind of interesting to hear about the other friend. So she said that there was this really close friend that, you know, was like, hey, I'm concerned about Jodi. But this friend was living international at that point. She was like really concerned about Jodi. She hit up Paige Hanna and was like, hey, can Jodi, like, you know, can you help her out? Blah, blah, blah. And I wonder what that friend thinks of Jodi now. I wonder if they're still friends. I wonder if they're still close with each other. But the other question that I had in the beginning of this video was, I wonder if Connections is still running in the background. Like, is Pam Butcher, you know, she was the president on the Connections website. Is she still running Connections? Is it completely dead? Are they still doing webinars weekly? They're still trying to get money out of it? I don't know. I'm very curious about all this. All right. So I'm sure maybe she'll make another video and she'll talk about the rest of it. Let me go back to the big screen. Oh, also, I want to do my background for my stream. This looks horrible, but sometimes in the future. Hello, Master Commander. How are you doing today? There were people who didn't get in as deep as the Frankies and the Hannahs did. Yeah, because I wouldn't expect Jodi to reveal her true self to everybody. It was only like a select few, right? Select few people that she trusted. But I mean, before the Hannahs, I wonder who it was, right? Because it was the Hannahs, and then after the Hannahs, she jumped on the Frankies pretty quickly. So I wonder if there were any other couples before the Hannahs. Maybe they don't come out and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe they don't want to be involved in this. You know, maybe they don't want to bring it up in the public eye.